This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast. These are 10 stories that we're watching this morning. And again, listen to separately two other podcasts we did today. It's not the payment system, moron. We talk about that. And the 20-60-20 rule, which is intended to encourage professionals to lean into their jobs, lean into their business, whatever they do. So here are the 10 stories we're following today. First, there's reports today in CNN Business that Americans have largely spent all their excess savings that they gathered up during the pandemic. They've not really stopped spending yet because they've taken on extra debt to keep on spending. But at some point, the idea is that this will have an impact on families and business. As we say often, debt kills companies, families, and countries. Second, Coke jumped 17.5% yesterday. Palantir dropped 15%. Disney also dropped 9.5%. The jury is still out on the return voyage of Bob Iger at Disney. Bob is one of the most confident executives in the world. I have a little bit of schadenfreude when I see his stock drop 9.5% just because he's so confident and so cocky. Third, Tesla dropped 3.5% yesterday. Tesla remains down more than 28% year to date. Rivian, one of the other electric car makers, is down 56% year to date. Four, the markets open a little bit down this morning. Fifth, Lyft jumped 7% pre-market on great Q1 earnings. The stock was down yesterday, but it's up nearly 11% year to date, but it's jumped today. Sixth, don't count Apple out. It's now only down 5% year to date after announcing a huge share back, the biggest buyback in corporate history, and improving sales. Didn't see that coming, but fantastic for Apple. Seventh, see the story, stock buybacks are soaring. They're at a record level in years and years, a sign that corporate America is bullish on the U.S. economy and just the best place to spend money. Eighth, well, the separate podcast on this, we have a separate podcast on the 5 largest companies by market cap. The 3 largest right now, Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA. Microsoft's up 9% year to date. Apple's down 5% year to date. NVIDIA is up 82% year to date. If I lived with FOMO, I would have FOMO about not buying NVIDIA individually instead of having it through some index funds. It is what it is. Ninth, the 5 largest companies by revenues. We'll have a separate podcast on this. Here are 3 of them. Walmart, which is still number 1, which keeps on keeping up with the Joneses, is up 15% year to date. Amazon's up 24% year to date. And Berkshire Hathaway, the company that Warren Buffett built, is up 12.65% year to date. Finally, 10th, great to visit with Stephen Glasgow yesterday, Kevin McGinnis, Richard Grant, and so many other people at the start of the McGuire Woods Healthcare Private Equity podcast. Listen to either the Becker Private Equity podcast, the Becker's Healthcare podcast. We appreciate your listenership so much. Thank you so much for joining us.